All right, here with Coach Cam Lenhart from the Bennington Badgers. Coach, one, appreciate your time, and two, hey, here you guys are again in the state championship game.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you doing this, and yeah, we're excited to be back.
Yeah, I mean, you guys haven't lost in a very long time. And I asked you after you beat Elkhorn North in the regular season, you guys just don't talk about the streak at all
Yeah, yep.
internally. Why is that, I guess?
I just think it's something that when you try to get when you focus on it or you get lost in it, it really doesn't do anything for you. It's something you can't control in a way, and so the big thing for us is to be present and in the moment, and right here, right now is something we say all the time, and that's not what that embodies. And so, yeah, we just don't talk about it.
Can we talk about your defense, though?
Yeah, we can.
It's really good. I mean, you could go down the list of a bunch of guys. Jack Jansen has been phenomenal for you guys. Kyler Lordson has been phenomenal. I can name everybody, and I'm going to miss someone if I do, so I'm going to stop. Talk about that defense and how much it's meant. It's obviously meant a ton to you guys this year because you're not giving up very much.
No, I would say what makes our defense special is just how fast they really play together. I think we try to pride ourselves on being a great tackling team, and those guys I really want to make sure that they gang tackle every time. We really emphasize it throughout the week at practice, and so just to have those guys embody it and kind of make it their own. They tradition that was kind of started last year is called the Orange Crush. And so it's our own little style of black shirts, but the guys get orange practice jerseys, and it's something that they really embrace. And, as they earn their orange jerseys throughout the season, I think it's just helped the buy-in of it. And, us being one-way players, now they get to focus solely on that defensive side and really take pride in what they do.
Yeah, the one-way thing, it's unique. Obviously, your numbers are high in order to do that, but it's definitely unique in Class B where you don't play anybody two ways. One, the philosophy behind that for you guys, and two, I mean, frankly, the numbers are big enough where you can.
Yeah. Obviously, the numbers help us tremendously, but we just thought as with having those types of numbers that the advantages that it gives us with kids not having to learn as much, or the more in depth that we can go on one side of the ball. And then the other thing too is if we take a kid who gets to practice just one way the entire season, he may been okay if he's going two, but now he's actually pretty dang good, and he can fill the role that we need him to do. Obviously, I think we could take some guys on defense, they could play offense, and offense vice versa. But whenever a guy gets their set role and they can just do that every single day, makes them pretty good football players.
One guy offensively for you guys I definitely want to talk about is Quentin Archer. He's been kind of the bell cow, I guess, for you guys on the offensive side of the ball, which has been a little different, right? You guys threw it around a little bit the last handful of years, but kind of leaning on him in that running game.
Yeah, he's been a phenomenal back for us. I think what has benefited him is just sitting behind two really, really good running backs before him, and kind of seeing how it works and just believing in the process. I think what helped us, fortunately, is where our schedule's set. The last couple of weeks, we were able to rest and then really rely on him the quarterfinals and semifinals games. I think he had over 40 carries both games. He runs really tough, runs behind his pads. I think his size gives him a benefit. He's kind of hard to see right out of the backfield, and he still has a quick burst that once he gets vertical, he can get going quick.
You guys clearly, obviously, are familiar with playing in Lincoln, so your team, there isn't anything new. That's a pretty distinct advantage for one, your players, and two, as a staff. The longer term, the longer, I guess, practice week, and kind of when you get down there, all the stuff that goes on with it. It's not anything new for you guys. That's a clear advantage, maybe.
Yeah, I would say it definitely has its advantages. What's maybe probably a little different is the kids who are in a leadership role now weren't really the leaders last year. And so their role this year will look a little bit different, and just making sure everyone's engaged. We're going to have sophomores who have never been there for the first time. And so making sure they get all the oohs and ahs out right away and really remember that we're there to play a football game. And so there is still some challenges that we need to talk throughout the week. The extra long week makes it a little bit more challenging. We don't want to kill it, but we still want to make sure every day is a productive day. And so just making sure every time we get together, there's purpose and there's intent.
Skutt is a familiar opponent. Obviously, you played them week one, a low-scoring game. It's looking like it probably will be again that way, just the way both teams just run around and fly around, particularly on defense and the athletes everywhere. What do you expect, I guess, in this game from Skutt and from your guys?
I expect them to do what they did the first time, which is really control the ball and run the clock. They do a really good job at just getting enough yards to keep those chains moving. Their run game is phenomenal. I think they've really added to it with their quarterback run play. And so making sure we take care of that will be really big. And then making sure on the defensive side, we don't fall asleep. And I think they do a great job at just run. And then when you think it's going, they're going to go over the top. That number one, he's a really quick kid. And so making sure we're always staying deep on that back half and just making sure we're great tacklers and making them not gain the 3 to 4 yards on the first down and trying to get us in passing situations.
You expect a low scoring one?
I to be honest, I have no idea what to expect. What I think is that the game is going to be completely different than the first time around. Both teams, week one, a lot of new faces on our side. I'm sure on their side as well. Having 13 weeks now to develop and grow, I think you're just going to see a completely different kind of game.
And week one feels like it was last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, it's been a while. All right, Coach, appreciate your time again. And we will see you, Monday night, Tuesday night? One of those nights.
Monday night. Yep.
Yeah, Monday night we'll be there. All right, thanks again.
Thank you. Okay,
next up is Coach Matt Turman from the Skutt Skyhawks with a capital H. Most people don't know that. You have to put the H in there. And it's also, I've been told numerous times, it is not Omaha Skutt. It is Skutt or Skutt Catholic. How about that? Which do you prefer?
We're supposed to go with Skutt Catholic, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, I've been told, can't put Omaha Skutt. It's got to be Skutt or Skutt Catholic. So anyway, Coach, you're back in the Class B state championship game. Familiar territory for someone like you that's been there. So what can you, provide from I guess, hey, I've been there. I know this is what you have to do. I know that every kid gets introduced, it feels like, before the game. It just takes a long time. Or have you had those conversations yet with your kids?
Well, we haven't had all those conversations yet, but at our meetings this weekend, we pulled out the old itineraries that we made in the past. And so just practice schedule wise, I remember the first time we made it, I was calling all kinds of guys that had experience doing it and saying, did you give them a day off? Did you give them 2 days off? What day? When did you practice? When were you doing film? And just kind of got all the ins and outs from people that had been there and done that. And now I feel like, myself and a lot of guys on my staff, we kind of have our routine even for this pretty exceptional special week.
Yeah. It gets special week. It's kind of different because, Bennett, he's your kid, and you're coaching your kid in a state championship game, and he's also just happens to be the quarterback. And he's also had a pretty good year, even after missing a little time at the beginning of the year.
It's been I had the ability or the opportunity to play for my dad too.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad had told both my brother Seth and I that his 8 years, we were never in high school together, but his 8 favorite years of coaching were the 4 that he had each of us. And I could say the same thing about the time with my son. Our freshman practice separate. So I've had the last 3 years, but as these playoffs came about, the Thursday walking off before our Friday game, I didn't make sure to go find him, and we'd walk off the practice field together just on the chance that it might be the last time. So knowing when our last practice is, that makes it a little more special.
Yeah. You guys, obviously, your opponent. It's Bennington, and you played them in the closest game they've had in a long time. In week one, obviously controversial ending. I'm not going to ask you about that, but you guys know them pretty well and have played them pretty well. So what can you take from that first game which was week one to now to prepare for the state championship game?
Now, it seems like so long ago since we played them. We watched we watched all that film of week one, but teams evolve. Players evolve. I think you can take the base stuff. The teams aren't successful by changing what they do week in and week out. So the base offense, the base defense, the base tendencies, that stuff stays the same. But they've added to their offense and they've added to what they do defensively, just like we have. So even though the base stuff's the same, we have to kind of prepare for it like it's a brand new game and a brand new team that we haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, I know. At the beginning of the year, I stopped out of practice. You said, "Hey, we got a really athletic team," and you do. And you had big plays, went through the air, on the ground. Like offensively, you've made some pretty big plays, but defensively, you can run around and hit a little too. Now, so can Bennington. Their defense is awfully, awfully tough. Is it going to be a 14-13 game like it was the first time? I'm guessing it's probably going to be similar.
Well, I think a lot of it will come down to, big plays, I think is a big part of it. Waverly had kind of the same type of kids. They were really athletic and could run. They weren't overly big in terms of size on the line and stuff. So it was kind of a good matchup for us. And our kids made a few bigger plays at crucial times, I suppose, than they did. And I think that's going to be part of this game too. Just one of the keys is which teams and which athletes can make a big play. I think both teams are pretty good against the run. Mm-hmm. I think we're giving up maybe. I know we're not giving up 100 yards a game rushing on the year, and I'm sure they're the same. And they make it very tough when you get in the red zone, just with their red zone defense. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe some of those are going to be big play things that you're getting 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 yard rushes, and then when you can bust that 30 or 40 yard run, it opens things up quite a bit.
Yeah, staying patient is probably going to be key, particularly offensively.
Well, we talk to our kids whenever we're in a big game that 3 or 4 yard gain is a good play. Sometimes we have kids that want to make every play a touchdown, and sometimes there's a little hole there that we can get 3 and trying to bounce it or cut and reverse field or whatever. Then you're -3 instead of +3, and now you're so far behind the chains it gets really tough.
All right, Coach. Well, we'll see you Tuesday night you guys play, right?
No, we're Monday.
Monday night, whatever. I'm going to be there the whole time. I don't know. I know that it starts on Monday morning and I'll get home on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning or something.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of good games. So it looks like a good slate.
Should be good. Your guys, I'll save my own commentary for later on the game, but I guess I've said you got to score 21 to beat Bennington. Not a lot of people have. So
I agree with that. I can see that. So
good luck with that.
Hopefully we can do that. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, here with me now to break down the Class B championship game is Elkhorn High coach Dan Fiker. Coach, you had the pleasure of playing both Skutt and Bennington this year. So
we did.
Pleasure would be the term, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's a word to describe it, Mike.
Yeah. Sounds great. I guess I want to start on the defensive side because both defenses are pretty good. And Bennington, that's their calling card this year, which is a little opposite of what they've been previously.
Yeah. No, defensively, that's the first thing that jumped into my mind, Mike. When we walked off the field against Skutt, we were all kind of looking at each other like, wow, that was a good team. And specifically defensively, they just made it so hard on us. Running the ball is not easy against them. They got really good linebackers. They sit in that 4-4 and they don't really adjust a ton. But if you're not going to run it easy, and then their DBs were fast and they covered us really well playing some of their man coverage stuff. And then Bennington. I don't know that we saw better defense all year. They fly around. Their speed is really difficult to replicate in practice. They bounced between kind of a three front and a 4 front, and they sat in the 3 front against us, and their linebackers just fly and their DBs are tough. And they're a darn good defensive team.
Yeah, Kyler Lortzen for them, for Bennington is he tackles like everything.
Yep. Yeah. You could see the wrestler in him. and he's fast. Like that's the scary thing about him is as tough as he is and as well as he tackles, but like he just plays linebacker so well and he reads so well. He's a DB that they play at linebacker, and he plays 40 pounds bigger than he is. So he's a good kid.
Yeah, you could honestly play him probably everywhere all over, except
Yep.
for, maybe defensive tackle or something.
Yeah.
He's capable of doing a lot of things. And it's kind of like you want to kind of try and run it away from him if you're running the ball. But then he can catch it on the backside too. And so he's pretty special athlete.
He is. Yes.
Okay. Let's switch to the offensive side, because Bennington is kind of turned more into a running team this year. Obviously there's another bird at quarterback for them anymore, but they're running the ball with a lot of success and really having a strong season.
Yeah. Archer's a good back for him. I mean, he gets tough yards. Salmon does a good job too. He's a big, strong kid that, they don't try and do too much. They just run their scheme and they run it well. Them running the football is obviously a top priority when you're trying to prepare for them on the defensive side, just because they run their sprint option. They love pulling a tackle. They run that short side a ton. So then they run option and then they set up sprint option pass, which burned Elk North early in that first meeting between them. So they've just got a lot of weapons. They don't play a ton of guys both ways. I've been impressed watching Bennington, just even watching their scores roll through after the first couple weeks, when they're beating York in these just dogfight defensive struggles, to where they've started throwing some points up where, I think they've gotten better as years gone on.
Yeah. What is, I guess let's switch to the Skutt side of offense. We know what they're going to do, right? Like, that option forever. And hey, Matt Turman is looking like his dad out there running around and throwing it pretty well too. They've gotten over the top of the last couple of teams they played.
Yeah, Skutt is just so difficult to prepare for, even though you know exactly what they're going to do. It's still just, obviously they run a lot of that dive keep option game, and it's so assignment based, so if you make one mistake, they'll send the fullback through. You've got to be disciplined. You've got to tackle the fullback every time, and even then, Turman's good enough. He can sneak through tiny, little holes and get yards. And he, first quarter against us, he ran a ton. And it was just one of those things, like, you look back on it and we weren't in any glaringly massive mistakes. It's just tiny little mistakes that you make that they're able to exploit with that offense.
Mm-hmm. Bennington, they talked to Coach Lenhart, and he says, we don't talk about the streak. He's like, it's nothing we talk about. He goes, we let people like you or outside of us talk about it. But it's really impressive. I mean, we're talking 39 games in a row. Yeah. That's crazy. And this day and age, right? Especially like Class B, it's not like 8-man or something, right? Like it's really impressive. So what's it going to take to beat them? I guess the last few weeks I've kind of started saying, hey, it takes 21 points. You got to score 21 points. If you get 21, you can beat them. Is that just that simple, or what's it going to take to actually beat them?
Mike, you can talk about the streak. Like, I was talking with one of my assistant coaches yesterday, and we were trying to figure out the last time Bennington had been down by more than 7 points. I mean, I don't know if it's happened in the last 3 years. I would doubt that it has. Like, I think York got up on them 3-0 last year. We got up on them 7-0 last year, but it's like, I don't think they've ever been down like that 2-touchdown deficit, which is just crazy to think about. Like, they always, if somebody scores, right? Like last week, Elk North goes down and scores, they answer. I mean, it's like they're able to just hang with people, and they don't put themselves in holes early, so then you're gonna win games if you can get ahead and stay ahead. And no, I agree with you. I think the hard thing is getting 21 points against their defense is just right. It's brutal. And I think for me, what this game will come down to is, can Skutt's offense do what it wants to do? I mean, it's going to be a matchup of how well can Bennington defend that dive keep option, which I know, Coach Lenhart they'll be prepped for it, but even if they saw it week one, it's hard to replicate it. It's gonna take some adjusting to get used to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Skutt gets some points in the first quarter off of it, and then we'll see what happens. But no, you're right. I mean, Turman's throwing the ball better. He's gonna have to throw it a little bit in order to get those 21 points they probably need.
Yeah. You think it'll be a low scoring game? Last one, I guess. You think it'll be another, like, first time, obviously, is week one. That's such a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's 14-13, and both defenses are pretty good.
Yep.
So, like, are we in for a 24-21 type of thing or something?
Yeah, I think for me, having played them both and just kind of knowing their styles and how those coaches want to coach, I expect a pretty low scoring game. I think low 20s. Crazy if we maybe get 28 points or something on the board. Let me put it this way. If it's an offensive explosion, it would surprise me. I just think they both possess the ball so well. They both play great defense. They're not going to take a ton of risks. They're going to make sure that they're going to put their defenses in good positions to make plays. And they're two well-coached football teams. I expect it to be a good game.
Awesome. All right, Coach. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you and the breakdown. I guess the short breakdown. We probably could talk about it for a long time, but short enough breakdown of the game.